Good to be with you today. Thanks for joining. This coming Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday. And so after church and after Sunday school, we'll gather in the fellowship hall and share a meal with one another. And we just ask that you might bring some soup or some salad, something to help share. There'll be activities for the kids to do. And then we'll eat about 11:15 or so. So we continue to be in the season of Epiphany, this season of light, this season of newness. And this week we come to the newness of the calling. You might remember a couple weeks ago we had Jesus declare his mission, his purpose for being here, of recovery of sight to the blind, release of the captives, freedom to the oppressed, right? And so now comes the time to make that happen. Jesus has made this commitment to the mission. It comes time now to make this happen. And even Jesus can't do it on his own. Jesus needs help. We need help with one another. And so we have this call story in Luke. You might remember. Jesus is along the lake and the crowds begin to gather and they want to hear him preach, and on the shore is Peter and James and John, and Jesus hops in their boat and uses it for a pulpit. And then when he's done preaching is when the calling happens. And there's four things to notice in the calling. And in this call story is very consistent to the other call stories that we see in the Gospels or even through the Old Testament prophets. There is this invitation, this asking. Jesus invites Peter and his companions to go into the deep waters. This invitation to something new, something possibly chaotic, this thing that's possibly fearful. Right? Go out into the deep waters. Second part of the calling is throw out your net. That is, invest yourself. Be a part of it. Don't just go out in the deep waters and sit there and participate in it. Do something. Right? The third part of the calling is for Jesus to say, do not be afraid. There's this reassurance that the deep waters may be scary, that you may want to hold on to your nets, but don't be afraid. And the fourth part of the call is the following. There's a newness, right? Our callings take us someplace we've not been before. The callings take us to a place that maybe we wouldn't even want to go. Callings invite us to participate in a life that's greater than our own. But that's how we accomplish the mission, right? That's how we bring sight to the blind. It's how we give freedom to the oppressed. It's how we release the captives. It's how we proclaim the good news to the poor. If all we did was what we were comfortable with, not much would get done in the mission. But there's a reassurance. Right? The reassurance is this, that we can do what is asked of us, right? Because Jesus is there. We have the ways and the means to make it happen, and we never do it by ourselves. So what's the newness of your call? Where do you see Jesus pulling you into something new, something different? We'll see you soon.